But let's start with the drama in Victoria and have a look at some of these exchanges between our own Julia Bradley and other journalists questioning the Chief Health Officer and the Acting Premier in Melbourne.
We've got thousands of contact tracers across the state. Why are we not getting on top of it quicker?
So it's entirely appropriate. This is a collective effort. It's entirely appropriate for businesses with the channels that they have to contact all of their clients and customers when they know that they're an exposure site.
We've had 12 months to get this right. No other state's been in this position. We're not special. Every state has bars. Every state has areas where it's easy to transmit virus. Why is Victoria in this position, and why are Victorians the ones having to pay the price?
We've had across the country, we've had breaches out of hotel quarantine. Across the country, we've had community transmission.
Silly journos, hey, asking those aggressive questions. They've got it all under control. But then this morning in The Australian, Rachel Baxendale with the revealing news that even as that press conference was happening yesterday, the urgent call was going out for more contact tracers to be recruited from universities in Melbourne. Let's bring in the panel now. Tonight I'm joined by Australian columnist, business person and Sky News commentator Gemma Tondini. Good to see you, Gemma.
Hello, Chris. Great to be with you guys.
And author and broadcaster Kel.
G'day, Chris.
How you going, Kel? Tell us about this. Do you think that the journalists are being too aggressive in those questions yesterday? I mean, honestly, they don't have anything under control a year and a half in.
The problem is that the Victorian government's got itself down a blind alley. They've taken seriously the word pandemic. So if a disease is limited to an area, it's endemic. If it covers a number of areas, it's epidemic. If it covers all, pan is the Greek word for all, then it's a pandemic. That's the panic they got themselves into last year, and now they've got to keep justifying that, right? Last year they were lying to us. They were saying this disease doesn't discriminate. Of course it does. So last year they never needed to lock everyone down. Now they don't need to lock everyone down, just the vulnerable and the infected, no one else. But because they've chosen to treat the word pandemic as a panic word, they've now locked into a situation where they can't face criticism. They can't face tough questions.
Look, James Merlino was proven wrong again already yesterday, Gemma, because Rachel Baxendale's demonstrated that while they're saying everything's under control, they were putting out an urgent call to recruit more contact tracers.
I mean, facts are inconvenient, aren't they, Chris? Those pesky facts. And it was a great story by Rachel. First of all, I mean, everyone knows someone in Melbourne who has family there. It's an awful, crushing blow, like genuinely a crushing blow for businesses, for families who won't be able to make ends meet. And I think the thing I keep coming back to is it isn't the only solution. It isn't the only solution, and it has been demonstrated just here in New South Wales and in other places of the world. It is not the only solution. And once again, the Victorian government is gaslighting its own citizens. It's gaslighting them and keeping them locked up for 23 hours a day or 22 hours a day, saying we have a gold standard. And in the meantime, as that story today proved, quick, we need extra help. We need students to help us.
Incredible. And as you say, great reporting by Rachel Baxendale. One of the media games that's being played here is a desperate attempt to link it all to Canberra. Even though all the problems are in Victoria, they want to blame the coalition. Now, normally we love fact-checking. Fact-checking is great as long as the fact-checking is accurate. Have a look at this attempt on Channel 7's Sunrise this morning.
One of the reasons, Minister, they're saying wait is because you and the Prime Minister told them that. You said there's no rush. For weeks and weeks and weeks, you said there's no rush. We talked about it on this program.
That's false.
And it's not false. You said it on our program many times.
No, that's not something I have ever said.
Your government and the Prime Minister was saying
that's not something I have ever said.
No rush, and so 50% of the people who won't get that vaccine in Australia are now saying there's no reason to. Well, here's some of Prime Minister Scott Morrison talking about the vaccine rollout not being a rush.
It's not a race. It's not a competition. It's not a race. You've got to get it right, and it's got to be safe. It's not a race. It's not a competition.
There you go. That's what we were talking about.
So that's a great gotcha fact-checked, isn't it? A different person saying a different word, but they're saying it contradicts Greg Hunt. Incredible. They also had a go over vaccination rates, quibbling over the numbers, whether you've had one shot or two shots.
It feels like they're just arguing about the stats.
And we haven't even mentioned, Nat, yet the problems with hotel quarantine was these leaks, you know, Lord forbid, continue to roll out as we see these flights coming back from India.
And on they go with vaccination rates, Gemma, and also hotel quarantine. This is the line run by the partisans, by Labor and the Greens, to attack Canberra. It doesn't stack up. The media love to run it, but it doesn't stack up because there's only one state that keeps having to lock down and lose control.
Absolutely. And the other thing, this other pesky fact, is that the states at National Cabinet last year demanded control of their own quarantine. And we know that Victoria, the place where the problems seem to be staying, is that they've repeatedly refused help from the federal government, offers of help from the federal government. My own state of Western Australia ferociously maintains its own quarantine. You know, they're happy to take the JobKeeper money, happy to take the money for the federal government, and then happy to turn around and blame the federal government for the quarantine they wanted to retain control of. So the facts don't stack up at all. And even in Western Australia, I can't get vaccinated in Western Australia yet because I'm not yet 50, but I can get vaccinated. I'm hoping to get vaccinated while I'm here in New South Wales. I'm not sure if it's if I'm allowed to as an interloper from interstate, but I believe I can because I have a wonderful thing called a Medicare card because I'm Australian first and foremost.
Indeed. Now, Kel, look, the media has got to stick to the facts. You can't run the quarantine is a problem line when most of the nation's quarantine has been done in New South Wales without problems.
That's right. In every other state, we haven't had 4 lockdowns. Only one state's had 4 lockdowns. I think part of the problem is political. Scott Morrison obviously made a decision early in the piece. He was not going to put the boot into premiers. Now, there's a political game that he's playing. He's got a reason for it. Whether it's wise or not, I don't know.
Can I just jump in there, right? Because we understand that. He wants to maintain national unity. That's him. That's politics. But journalists are supposed to argue the facts.
That's right. Journalists should say. And there's another problem. Victorians believe what their government tells them. I have got relatives in Victoria and I keep saying to them, you guys are now being locked down for a 4th time. And they say, oh, but these people are doing the best they can and, you know, we feel safe doing it this way. So the gaslighting of Victoria has actually worked. They actually believe they're going crazy.
All right.